Welcome to this tutorial about gameplay tags. Let's just jump into it and look at it. So here we are inside of Unreal Engine 5 Early Access. Now this of course works just as well in Unreal Engine 4. So what are gameplay tags? Well, similar to tags, they are a way to add properties to different actors in your world. However, they differ a little bit from normal tags in a few different key ways. The first one is that we edit them and change them in a different place than normal tags. And that is by going to Editor and then going to Project Settings. You have this grouping called Gameplay Tags here. And by going here you get presented with this menu. Now, if you want to add new tags here, you can just click this little arrow over here and you can add something. So let's say like status effects. And then as you add it, you get it added over here. One of the differences between this and tags now arise, and that is that you can actually create a hierarchy for this. So if we were to say something like status effects dot stunned, we can see that status effect adds a child to the status effect we already had, and this is because we separated them with a punctuation, which means that we can also do something like status effects dot stunned dot long stun, and then we would have a hierarchy node under that as well. Now you don't have to create them one at a time like I did here. You could do something like magic.fire.fireball to denote that you have something that's magic, and then it's fire school, and then it's a fireball under that fire school, for example. Now if we wanted to, we could, you have to remove these one at a time, like so. If you wanted to, you could have this a little bit more, let's say, flexible, because there is a way to have this list populated in different ways. One of the ways it can be initiated is by ini files, and this is where C++ is a little bit more integrated with this functionality than blueprints are, and that is why this default gameplay tags.ini is mentioned here. There are other ways as well though to have this list populated, and you can do that by creating data tables. So you have over here gameplay tag table list, and we can either add a table here that we already have created, or we can create a new one. So let's create a new one. So create new asset data table, and let's call this status effects. And then you pick a row structure, so you pick a gameplay tag table row. So now we have created a table that handles status effects. So we can browse to this table that we've created now, and we can start adding things. So we can have a new row, and we can add a tag like status effects dot stunned, and then we can add another one, and we can call that one status effects dot poisoned. And you can see that we're using the same hierarchy creation syntax with the dots separating them. Status effects dot protection dot invulnerable, something like that. So now we can say that, and we can go back to our project settings, and you can see that we have had these different hierarchy nodes added now. And you can have multiples of these if you wanted to. So you could have another one, and you could we didn't actually create one there, did we? A data table, and we can call this one magic types maybe. And gameplay table row. Okay, find that one. We'll add some properties in this one as well. So we'll say magic fire, magic wind, for example. And then you can see that it gets immediately populated over here. And then if you decide that you don't want one of these, you can just remove it like so, and then those status effects disappear. Something worth noting here is if you were to add something like a tag of your own. So let's say we had magic.water. Then we have created magic and water category here already. So if we now go and add our magic types, they will be added to the magic type over here. But if you remove the magic types now, you will still have the ones that you created manually. So if you want to have it populated only by data tables that you keep track of, you maybe don't want to add something manually here because it's going to be persistent and you have to remove it yourself. So that is how you can create and maintain your gameplay tags. Now, how do you make use of them? Well, here is one of the parts where it gets a little bit less flexible, unlike the original system. Because the original system, you can just add a tag to a character and you can immediately just say actor has tag, and then it will check against the tag array that the actor that you're comparing to has, and then see if it actually contains the tag. With gameplay tags, you actually need to create a container. So we create a container we call a variable we call gameplay tags, and the gameplay variable the variable type of this gameplay tag variable needs to be gameplay tag container, like so. So a gameplay tag container now is a structure that contains your tags. So this one is what you're going to be comparing to and see if you have something. So has tag, has all tags, and has any tags. And that's how you can check if one of these tags exists in the container. If you want to have a specific tag to keep track of for some reason, then you can, now I mentioned this in singular, so it's a gameplay tag. We don't want to have a tag container, we want to have a gameplay tag. Now this contains only one singular tag in this variable. So you see you can still have some things. You don't get the same comparators like you have here, that has all tags, has any tags, has tag. This one has slightly different operators on it. So what you want to do when you want to operate with or play around with gameplay tags is you want to make sure that you have one of these containers on each object that you want to have tag functionality in. So let's look at the gameplay tag then. How this works is if you take the gameplay tag here, you can assign it a value. And you can see here that we have a lot of options. So what we can do is we can either click something like poisoned over here, then that means that that specific tag has been chosen. But you can also pick a hierarchical node above it, like status effect or protection above invulnerable here, or invulnerable. So you can have all of these different combinations, or not combinations, but different ones selected. However, you cannot have multiple ones selected. And how that works is status effect is a hierarchical parent or above protection in this case. So you can have status effect protection. You can also have status effect protection invulnerable. But you cannot have that and stunned at the same time, because stunned is in the same level as protection, so you can only have one of these at the same time. But then under that hierarchy here, you can still have something that's connected to protection, because that's still a separate thing. So that's how a individual tag works. You can only have like one tag selected, and here you can see what the result is of the tag that you have selected also, if you have something chosen. But when it comes to gameplay tag container that we talked about, this one, then this one can hold multiple ones. So in this case we could have poisoned and stunned at the same time, or protection, and you can see that it's building up this list of the different chosen tags that it has. So when you were to compare, for example, if we have all the status effects compared here. So if we were to say, and let's make this one a status effect. So let's do some logic for this to make you understand how this works. So we'll have a branch, and we'll say true when it's true and false when it is false. True and false. So if we go and say here has tag, and then we say this one, and we were to put in a status effect here, and you know that we have the status effects poisoned over here, so this is the hierarchical parent. So if we put that in here, we can now match against the container to see if this tag exists in there. And if we do it just like this, and play, and we play and we press E, you can see that it says true. And the reason for that is, even though we haven't specifically chosen the status effect specific tag, we haven't chosen this one, we have chosen the three below. The reason we haven't, because we haven't chosen exact match in this checkbox, that means it will just make a partial comparison. If we were to put this for exact match and instead compile and play now, it would say false instead. Because now we don't have the specific tag of just status effect here, we have status effect and then something else. So if we wanted to have a match now, for example, this tag would have to be one of these status effects here, like poison, for example. So if we compile now and run, we should be getting true again. And that's how the comparison works. So it's important to know when an exact match is used and not, and what the results of it will be. You also have these two different tags, and they work in similar ways, or tag searches rather. Hashtag, let's see, which one did we take? We took all tags. Let's take any tags. So this is just simple logical changes. So if these, you can see that they're taking containers, so they're going to be comparing a container with a different container, meaning that it will go through all the tags in one container, compare them against the other container. So in this case, all the containers need, or all the tags in the container needs to be in this other container. All the tags in there needs to exist in the first container for it to return true. And if you're adding the exact match, then they need to be identical containers, basically. Or not identical containers, but by the same logic as up here, that you need to have the exact match for it to return true. And has any tags will just make a check to see if any of the tags in the one container exists in the other container, and again with the exact match being a specificity check. So when can gameplay tags be useful? Well, just like tags, this is something that has a lot of flexibility to it that you can be creative about. you can use it, for example, in the examples that I've presented over here, meaning that you can have it as sort of status effects that you want to have applied. So you can just add a tag to a character when it is poisoned, and then you'll know that it is poisoned. Or have certain effectors on it, like in StarCraft you would have, for example, armor types. So one type of unit would have something that's an armor type of armored, and then you might have a different unit which might have bonus damage against armored units. So then you could have the armored tag on the first unit, and the second unit would check against, does this unit that I'm attacking, does its container of gameplay tags contain the armored tag? In that case I'm going to be doing more damage, for example. And for cases like StarCraft, that makes it very easy for you to do balancing. If you want to switch around having different tags for different units, and feeling like, okay, this unit is not performing so well, it might be because of this armor type, let's change it from heavy armor or armored to light armor or not armored, for example. And then your gameplay, you wouldn't have to create a lot of extra logic for it to just function. You would just keep track of the tags to make sure that, and your logic would handle itself because it's working because of those tags. And you can use this for other things as well. You can have it as a property on other blueprints or attacks or something like that. So your attacks can have certain properties, or magic spells perhaps are different elements, or gives bonus damage to different things and such. So it is a very flexible system. The only downside when using it with blueprints is, of course, that you have to create these gameplay tag containers and then populate them with tags, either in editor or in runtime. You can also add tags if you want to, because if you just type add, you can see add gameplay tag, and then it just asks you for a tag to add, and they can have a manual one or a one that's predefined. So it's flexible in that way. And another pro with these type of tags, in contrast by the other tags that we went through in the other tutorial, is that you don't have the ability here to put in the wrong tag other than clicking in the wrong checkbox, of course, because the other tags are held in their text, so you can potentially type them wrong. Here you don't have that ability, since these are defined in your project settings, and unless you have typed them wrong here, they're going to be looking incorrect here, but you're still going to be having the right tag, right? So these are less prone to errors in that case. Yeah, I hope all of this made sense, and that you find this interesting enough to play around with, because this is a very powerful system, and it can alleviate a lot of logic from, or a lot of complexity from your logic, making it more flexible as a result, both for maintenance and balancing, and for visual sake of readability. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you did not like it, leave a dislike. Leave any suggestions or comments you have down below. Subscribe and share this video if you want to see more like it in the future. That is all for now. Keep on learning. Take care.